Welcome back, everyone, to the Victory Road World Cup semi-finals between Australia and Canada. I'm still recovering from that heat of a match. I'm Yuki Zaninovic. I'm joined here by Evan Wang. How's it going, Evan?
Oh my gosh, what a good match to start everything off. Like, it's probably the Billboard match, and so interesting that both teams sent both Navjit, NJ, and Henry to play the first match, to kick off their top four matchup all together. And it was such a nice match to watch from the back as well. Of course, the Victory Road is being sponsored by Elgato, GG Tour, and Metafi, and we're really thankful for all these because the matches that we are going in, everything is like money match right now, and there's so much at stake between these two teams, and these two teams really have traveled so far to get all the way to this point. So really just props to everyone, and a good job well done for getting all the way here. And I can't wait to jump into this next match as we from what you see during the break, we see more players being featured here, and a lot of these players are just so strong.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, without the work of our sponsors, everyone working in the back end, none of this would be possible. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, like you said, we have so much coming up. We just had that heat of a match between Navjit Joshi and Henry Rich. Just an absolute nail biter of a set. It's always exciting to see a 1-0 kind of be reversed into a 2-1. We see Canada kind of up 1-0. It's not really the time to kind of sweat yet. It's kind of more of like an incremental advantage that Canada has. But if Matt Tidd is able to come out on top over Sam Pandelis in this next match, that's when it becomes the stakes become a little bit high for Australia. So there's still a bit of pressure in this match, but we still have a lot more matches even after that. There's so many players that have been in day two of not even just this Worlds, but past Worlds, regional winners. We just have everyone in this lineup.
Yeah, well said about all these stacked roster, and when you were talking about that comeback from a 1-0, it's kind of similar to what happened yesterday. Like France managed to, in one of the games, take one game off of Thailand, but Thailand actually made a comeback, right? And completed that 2-1 win to just further their lead and go ahead, to go at 2-0 and 3-0 against France. It was such an amazing thing to see. And wow, I really can't wait to see what's going to happen and how we can resolve this top four bracket for today. So without further ado, let's just introduce our second matchup. This will be between Matt Tidd and Sam Pandelis. I believe both of them were featured on stream last week. As our top card goes along, more of these players will be featured on stream. I think both sides really have to do a lot of homework in terms of what these players are comfortable with their Series 12 teams. Seems like a lot of the players are leaning towards comfort, and then sometimes you might take this extra step. Now you've gone all the way this far to do your homework to try and come up with a good team to counter the opponent. So let's talk about their achievements right here in front of us. No strangers to the live event scene for these regionals. Accomplishments. Matt Tidd on the left from Canada. A lot of accomplishments way back, in 2018, did well in NAIC top 64, and then 2019 Roanoke Regionals top 32. Was a World Cup competitor in 2021, and his record was 2-3. So this year really going the extra mile to just improve on that. And then finally, most recently, the 2022 Milwaukee Regionals top 16, a very good result there in the Series 12 format.
Absolutely, yeah. And coming over onto Sam Pandelis' side, someone who has had accomplishments from even further back than Matt Tidd. So probably most notably, using the very innovative,
Colossal.
Yes, Colossal team. I was talking about the team he used to get second place at
2017. Yeah, that was the Gachom Ninetales, right?
Yeah, exactly. So even from back then, we see a top 16 from World Championships in the previous year, top 4 at the Australian Nationals that same year, 5-time regional champion, and he's had a ton of accolades even in the recent years as well, making multiple, regional top cuts, day twos at international challenges. So a player that, no matter when you enter the scene, you probably have heard of Sam Pandelis' name. So I'm really excited to see what these players end up bringing. I believe Sam has been using a Colossal for a really long time. He got like second place at the Perth Regionals, so we actually see that come out here, which is interesting. It's a team that has I'd say dropped off a lot in popularity. In the single restricted format era, we see it paired with Zacian, and that's had like a lot of success. The Yveltal is usually a Moltres, and even in the format before that, when there's no restricted alloweds, we know that Wolf won the first Players Cup or with the composition of Colossal. So I really love how Sam has sort of adapted that overall concept into the double restricted format, where you see Kyogre flying around everywhere, being able to just knock out Colossal very easily, and we actually see that matchup happen here. So I think I've studied up a lot on the Colossal team in the previous formats where it's a little bit more popular, but I'm no expert in the dual restricted. And I'm really curious to know, like, how does it fare against the Kyogre teams? Like, what is the winning way to use it?
Yeah, this does seem to be a little bit of a tough matchup for Sam. Last week when Matt was featured on stream, he did bring this Calyrex Ice Dialga team. It's kind of his own team composition. But this week, completely changing it up to bring this Zacian Kyogre team. It saw some success in Worlds, 2 top 16 finishes, I believe by Leonardo Bonanomi and a Japanese player, Yuma Kinugawa, right? So this sort of a rain team that was transformed from a Grimmsnarl into the Whimsicott, and then the Zapdos slowly became the Thunderous, the faster variant of electric flying type. And this seems that Matt might have done his homework, and Sam actually went more lean towards comfort. We did see throughout Series 12 that comfort is key, and I think Sam really has to play out of his mind to try and overcome this matchup with that huge Kyogre on the field. Is very important in game 1 for both sides to figure out some items, since Sam this archetype of Zacian Yveltal is just quite popular in the online scene, and you can make some small adjustments with the moves and with the items. So I think both sides really need to figure out how to enter go through this matchup in a best of 3. We do see the leads come out here. I didn't really notice the Intrepid shot from either Zacian, but we do have that very fast Whimsicott and Zacian lead, and both restricted out on the field on Sam's side.
Yeah, I think the one interesting thing to note here is that I think there's like 2 different key Pokemon on both ends. I think on Matt's side, it would be the Kyogre, so that it can counteract the Colossal, not let it get too much vocalist damage out and knock it out immediately. And on the other hand, I think for Sam, it would be actually the Rillaboom, because that's really the only Pokemon that can kind of pick off the Kyogre over on Matt's end. Nothing else on Sam's side can really take that many hits from the Kyogre, so his key Pokemon's Rillaboom. But we actually see neither of them come out at the on the first turn. So I want to think that they're probably being kind of kept in the back for both players. And we both see them bring out some speed control. So I think they're both thinking the same thing, and I'm really curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, so Yveltal as the Dynamax choice from Sam right off the bat, going to try and go for some kind of max airstreams on speed control, I believe. But Matt just goes straight for an obvious play of Tailwind plus Behemoth Blade. This Behemoth Blade should go into this Yveltal, and that should do quite a lot of damage because it's doubled while Yveltal is Dynamax. But that natural bulk came through. Yveltal does survive, but goes into the red as Sam's Zacian does not protect here. It goes next and goes for that important Behemoth Blade damage into Matt's Zacian, bringing it low. And here comes the Max Airstream, actually doubling up into Zacian. Is it able to take the KO? It actually is. So with the trait of Zacian on the field, Matt is then able to set Tailwind up and bring another more offensive Pokemon back. No, the Zacian actually survives. It might have been like 1 or 2 HP. I didn't really see that from that screen.
Yeah, I think that play over from Sam's end makes a lot of sense. You don't really want to knock out this Whimsicott either with a Max Airstream or a Behemoth Blade. In the case that it doesn't have a Focus Sash, you basically get a Kyogre, a free switch in, and both of these Pokemon just can't take a Water Spout, and the Rillaboom, still isn't nowhere to be seen. So you just can't afford to take all that damage. So I think it makes a lot of sense that the Zacian was doubled up into. Definitely unfortunate that the knockout just barely got missed over from the Yveltal's end. That means Zacian basically is guaranteed at least 1 more hit before it gets knocked out. But I think the only exception to that is that this Zacian has a quick attack, but it doesn't sound like it does.
Yeah, so having taking advantage of all this, Matt just goes for yet another Behemoth Blade, taking out the Yveltal, taking out Dynamax altogether, but also in that turn took that opportunity to switch the Whimsicott out into the Thunderers, making full use, and these precious Tailwind turns are kind of running out, and then just really putting on that pressure. Sam actually does not fall for it, no protects coming out, right? Like wants to just go for raw damage here. So this Behemoth Blade is going into what used to be that Whimsicott, but does important damage into the Thunderers, and it seems like Matt's Dynamax choices are kind of running low, but he still has full control with 2 more turns of Tailwind. I think that's really powerful. As Sam finally switches in that Urshifu, with that Yveltal going down.
Yeah, I do want to give props to Sam there, actually going for the Behemoth Blade into the Whimsicott slot. Like we talked about, we don't want to give Matt a free switch in from the Whimsicott getting knocked out, but he read the fact that Whimsicott would get switched out, knowing that after it sets up Tailwind, it kind of just doesn't do too much damage output. If instead Sam had gone for the Behemoth Blade or Quick Attack or something into that Zacian instead, actually, that would have been pretty detrimental, because then it would be a full HP Thundurus being paired with a full HP Kyogre. Even if Sam were to bring a Rillaboom, for example, it'd be really bad. And I was going to point out, this Urshifu has the priority move in Aqua Jet, so it's able to actually pick off the Zacian before it's able to actually attack. So I thought that was a really heads-up play there. And yes, we see Electrowave come out, get some, chip damage, speed control, and get rid of the Focus Sash on the Urshifu. But I believe the Zacian will be able to knock out this Thundurus on this turn with this Behemoth Blade that we see coming out here. And now, I don't know. I think in the first turn, we really thought that Matt just had such an advantage, just having the speed control kind of, uninterrupted. But now we see a Whimsicott come in, paired with presumably a Kyogre, but it's basically, a 2v1 situation, because the Whimsicott just can't do too much.
Man, what's going on today with all these matches? Like the previous match was just blows coming in from left and right, and then this one also, Pokemon just what's the word? Like trading blows with each other, right? And then finally we're left with this situation where Matt actually is left with just the Whimsicott and the Kyogre, but Matt still has the option to Dynamax here, and obviously it should go into this Kyogre and help to try and clean up this game. But the Tailwind turns are then running low here, and Whimsicott is kind of at the mercy of both Zacian and Urshifu, being able to take it out. The previous turn from the Thunderers, I think Matt was being quite patient here, and then went for Electro Web instead. So has ultimate speed control here, and on this turn really has to make a difference, to take as many KOs as possible. But Matt is actually being patient with the Dynamax, does not go for the Dynamax now, as the Protect comes out from the Zacian, which is quite obvious. The Aqua Jet then goes into the Whimsicott to try and break a Focus Sash, as the Moonblast comes out to take that obvious KO into the Urshifu, and now it comes down to a 2v2 situation with Matt having control of that Dynamax and being able to set up yet another Tailwind.
Yeah, I think good play to conserve the Dynamax, but on the other hand, if Sam does have the Rillaboom, then it's going to spell disaster over from Matt's end, and we do see the Rillaboom come out. If it has that Assault Vest item, it'll be especially trustworthy in knocking out the Kyogre. If it doesn't, then maybe, Matt could go for a cheeky play like a Helping Hand or Fake Tears, or, depending on what kind of supportive moveset it has, it could still counteract this Rillaboom. But otherwise, I'd still stand that it's a pretty, 2v1 kind of situation, because, I don't think one Max Tailstorm is going to be able to knock out a Max Rillaboom, but I just realized that the Dynamax was actually already taken out onto the Yveltal. But the fact that he still has access to Grassy Glide is still pretty scary, I'd say, because basically if you try to knock out the Rillaboom this turn, then you get a Grassy Glide and a Behemoth Blade into the Kyogre. If you try to knock out the Rillaboom, then you end up taking 2 attacks onto the Kyogre anyways, and I don't know if it's going to be able to do that, to be able to handle that. So I think it's really just going to come down to the Whimsicott. If it has access to Encore or something, it can Encore the Protect that just happened on the Zacian. So Matt's definitely still not out, but I think all the marvels are happening right now.
Yeah, so let's see what goes on here. Matt actually opts to go for the Tailwind. I think that's kind of Whimsicott's best thing to do. The Grassy Glide does come out. It actually is a 2-hit KO onto the Kyogre, and Kyogre is then going for Max Geyser. I think we did see that Thorough Protect fail on the Zacian, right? So this is a good KO onto the Zacian here. I think really very important. That's something that Matt needed. And then finally, we're left with this 2v1 situation against the Rillaboom. It's going to come down to these two grass types, since we know that this Grassy Glide will then take that KO onto the Kyogre on this next turn. I think this is just the beauty of the Yveltal team, the Zacian Yveltal team, how it is designed, with good tools in the back, good support. So even though that Yveltal went down within just 2 Dynamax turns, this Rillaboom is able to come back and check this Kyogre almost completely. It's forced to get Max Guard on this turn here.
Right, I was gonna say, I think the Whimsicott has access to Charm or Tickle, which is actually the team that Kinugawa and Kiwamu have been using at the World Championships. Then that's going to be basically Matt's out in the situation, being able to reduce Rillaboom's damage output. And I thought it was a pretty heads-up play for Matt to go for the max guard there, even though it might be pretty likely for him to survive the Grassy Glide coming out from the Rillaboom through the Tickle, but being extra cautious, getting 2 Tickles in just in case. And now I think he kind of needs a critical hit in order to get through this. So let's see if he gets it, and he does not.
Oh man, well done. And now we kind of get the gauge of what Matt is using, right? We do have some open information of the team that Kinugawa used, and this is legitimately that Tickle Whimsicott, a very good tech to control these physical attackers, as that Max Hailstorm actually takes that 1-hit KO with this Kyogre's Life Orb into the Rillaboom. Even with the Assault Vest, sometimes it does go down since Kyogre is just that powerful, but this was such a close game. Sam still fought very hard all the way to the end. If he managed to get that double protect on the Zacian, he would stall another turn out of that Kyogre, and then you might be able to get more damage and spread more damage to both sides. Zacian might be able to kill that, take out that Whimsicott, and then it might not go for that many Tickles, and then that Grassy Glide roll, it could even take out that Kyogre on that turn. So altogether, well played by both players, but Matt was able to come out on top and bring one more game on the board for Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. The supportive move pool of Whimsicott really coming in clutch over for Matt there. I think just kind of reflecting on what might have been the turning point in that match, even though it was a little bit subtle and early on, I think it really was that Zacian, surviving on that 1 really low HP.
Yeah.
I think from Sam's kind of perspective and thought process, he's thinking, okay, a Behemoth Blade usually does, at least 80% to most Zacian if it doesn't have too much bulk. It's really close to getting it to knockout, certainly in the red gauge. And, even though Max Airstream is, not very effective to the Zacian, just with that remaining HP, I'm sure I can pick up with the Max Airstream. So, I think that thought process makes a lot of sense to me. And the only exception to that is if Matt's Zacian is really bulky. So that might actually be the thing that's going on there, is that Matt has his Zacian trained bulk, a lot trained in bulk. So, I'm curious to see if Sam is able to use that knowledge somehow. And also whether the Colossal is going to come out, right? Again, I don't really know how Colossal is used in the dual restricted formats. Is there ever a situation you do want to bring it out against the Kyogre teams? Especially in the turn 1 that we just saw there, where it's Zacian and Whimsicott. That actually doesn't really check the Colossal at all, right? You can't really knock it out one hit with Behemoth Blade. So in those situations, do you actually want to get the Colossal out when the Kyogre is not even there? Then you kind of get 2 guaranteed max moves off, and that may be able to carry you into the end game, where you continuously get the chip damage, and you might be able to use Aqua Jet and Grassy Glides to pick up just the last bit of damage you need. So I'm really curious to see the adjustments from both players.
Yeah, Matt was being very bold there in a game 1 situation to just lead with that Zacian and Whimsicott. Yeah, of course, even if the Colossal comes out, the Colossal still has to make that choice. You don't know which Pokemon is going to then switch into that Kyogre. But Matt really just caught on the lead there and was really able to make use of that Zacian fully with that clutch survival, and that just helped a lot throughout the game. Yeah, I just want to do a quick shout out, I guess, to the research that I did. The Colossal team, Zacian Yveltal Colossal, with the Insane Rillaboom, it's the second most used team, in all of Australia's teams there. And it won 5 out of 6 times that it was used. Such a good win rate. It just goes to show, it just goes to show the experience with all these players using these teams. And comfort is really key in Series 12. And let's see if Sam can make that comeback, right? And turn the game around in this situation. I thought that the mons he brought made sense, and the way the whole game played through. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that Zacian survived and was able to play a big part in taking out that Dynamax Yveltal.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Sam just needs to contend better with the fact that he doesn't really have access to speed control as reliably as Matt does.
Ooh.
So I was happy to see the adjustment, and man, I hope maybe Sam heard me over the mic and took my advice, but I hope I'm not held responsible for this because it's really not looking good for that Colossal right now.
Oh man, and the Kyogre, we had a lot of information coming out from the previous game. The Kyogre is that life out variant, so very strong and very offensive lead there. Matt once again, calling the leads right and catching Sam back all the way in turn 1 or I guess turn 0. And here, it's tough call of whether you max the Colossal or not. Try to set those rocks up and start, like you said, start that chip damage all the way towards the late game and help you, all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam has two options here. If he's confident that this Colossal is still faster than the Kyogre, even in Tailwind, then you could maybe go for a max move and get, just get the Vocalith up and get the chip damage going. Or you could, just bait the Kyogre to attack it and you, maybe just get just don't max and just sacrifice it this turn, or you could switch it out into a Rillaboom and just have it take the attack, waste one turn of max on Kyogre's end. But we see that there's no switch out, so I'm assuming he's just going to be sacrificing this Colossal.
Yeah, no Aqua Jet coming out here. Moonblast is the first move, bringing Urshifu down to its sash. We did not see it earlier. And the Urshifu then goes for that Surging Strikes into the Kyogre slot. I think wanting to do as much chip damage as possible, taking advantage of the rain that Kyogre set up. So it seems to be somewhat of 25%, as Kyogre is then gonna move next. Will he go for that obvious Max Geyser into the Colossal slot? I guess even if Colossal protected this turn with that 4x super effective, that Life Orb and that rain, it would be able to take it down. So Sam here is just sacrificing that Colossal and bringing another Pokemon in as a better max target here. On this turn, I think Urshifu tried to do some meaningful damage, and just unfortunate with these leads that Colossal just has to go down there, isn't able to set up those residual damage from the rocks.
Yeah, right. And I think Sam has to make a pretty risky decision this turn. Since the Zacian's probably just going to get blown up by a Tailwind Max Geyser, I think he doesn't really have a choice other than to bring in the Rillaboom, in my opinion. And I think that's what we see him go for. So I think he has an option, and the real read is whether the Urshifu stays in or not, right? So, something that the Whimsicott could do is to just Moonblast the Urshifu, not wanting to waste the max move on the Kyogre. But Sam can kind of, use that psychology to his advantage and instead bring in the Zacian to take the Moonblast instead, and then, have the Rillaboom knock out the Kyogre. I think that's one way he can, come back in this game. On the other hand, I think Matt could kind of read that and go for the Max Geyser onto Urshifu, which is, usually unthinkable. So, and then in the back, he probably has his own Zacian that can take care of this Rillaboom. I think this is going to be the pivotal turn. Obviously, Sam's in a big disadvantage, but I think he's definitely not out if he gets this turn correct.
Yeah, true. It's your back is really against the wall, and Sam's still being patient and not wanting to, I guess, Dynamax so early. The Tickle actually goes into the Rillaboom. Yeah, I think that is the good choice, to get a Tickle off to reduce that Grassy Glide damage. And this Grassy Glide really has to crit here, to take that KO on the Kyogre, but unfortunate that isn't able to do so. Then Kyogre actually goes for that Max Hailstorm, should take out this Rillaboom, and that Hailstorm damage will then clean up that Focus Sash on the Urshifu, and we do know that Zacian's in the back. I think it's just a really, really rough game for Sam here, to try and come back. But yeah, he really did all he could, I feel, with all things considered, and trying to stall out this Dynamax from the Kyogre is just such an oppressive threat on the field.
Well, something I really want to highlight though is how well Matt just read Sam that turn. I really can't understate that, because basically, if let's say the Aqua Jet and a Max Drum Solo went into that Kyogre instead, I think that actually would have picked up the knockout, right? If you look at how Kyogre's still in the red gauge, Grassy Glide is, does less than half of the Max Drum Solo, 160 versus 70. So that certainly would have picked up the knockout. But I basically think that Matt just read the fact that Sam didn't want to use his Dynamax yet and would just go for a cheeky, Grassy Glide and Aqua Jet play and just read him perfectly, use a typical to care for that, and just, got a double knockout that turn. So, Matt just really, really got that one pinpoint of a read through, and that just, blew up the game for him and got him a 2-0 victory. So huge props to him. Like, I don't think that was the super obvious play necessary from Sam's end, but he just really did that read and just executed perfectly.
But I think like on hindsight, just going for that tickle just makes sense, just in case that Rillaboom Dynamaxes and survives that next Hailstorm, then you just try and reduce as much damage as you can into the later turns. I also thought that Matt was very patient and does not click that obvious tailwind from that Whimsicott because Zacian's still not on the field yet, and not much Pokemon on the field from Sam's side would then threaten that Whimsicott. So very smartly saves that speed control, more towards the later game. Like if that Aqua Jet were to go into that Colossal, I think you could find another turn with that Rain being set up to then try and go for good speed control next turn, or go for like Tailwind, for example, right? So I think all the way through, Matt did have a plan. Really just caught Sam on the leads, then was able to take a very decisive game for Canada. And what we see on screen here, bringing Canada actually up 2-0 against such a strong competitor, like a strong team of Australia.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is when Australia starts to sweat a little bit, right? You're like, oh, I'm down 2-0. I can only afford 2 more losses. Like, I need to, start bringing up the match record. So, I'm serious. Because these players know the match record right before going to the match, I think, Ben might be sweating a little bit. Is he going to go for his comfort picks? Is he going to adapt? I think that's something I'm curious about. Ben is also a player who is matched with Navjeet and Henry, actually, in terms of the number of matches he's won. They all won 7 matches so far. So I'm curious to see if he's able to match Navjeet's record or, kind of trail behind just as Henry did. But yeah, we obviously have a heat of a match cup coming up next. So definitely do not go anywhere.